Welcome to our special commission meeting, August 29th, 2023. The time is now 5:44. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Here, as we stand for our invocation.
Our Father, our God, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, for your continued blessings over this city. Continue to give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding through those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
And we also ask that you keep the families of the tragedy that happened in the city of Jacksonville in our prayers. Ask that you keep those families in our prayer. And we're going to move to our public input. And we ask that you stay germane to the topics at hand. So public input is open. Madam Clerk, do we have any online participants?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do
Okay,
not.
public input is open.
Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street. I'm going to stay on the as follow. I want to look at item 3. And here's the thing with item 3. We got a manager that's been here for a year and a half. But we have 2 assistant city managers that have had background checks done. Why is it that we have a manager still here that has not had a background check? That's actually circumventing the process because he hasn't had a background check done. So if we're going to do a short list of candidates, then the field might as well be open up to all 18 instead of a short list. So we have a violation of the city charter. We also have violation of the human resources policy for the city of Opa-locka, that every employee must have a level 1 or level 2 background depending on the position. This has not happened. The manager has been here for 19 months. This has not happened. Hiring, firing, just sworn in earlier this month or late last month, a group of officers that went through a level 2 background check. Yet we have a manager that has the keys to the city, running the city, that has not had a level 2 background check done. Just last year, November the 14th, on a Monday, 2022, prior to the new commission coming in, this very same manager, along with former, they offered, then Mayor Williams, they offered a resolution to make him the permanent manager prior to the new commission coming in. You had church that night. Commissioner Dominguez voted no. And then we had Davis, Bass, and Williams voting yes. Apparently, the background check, and he couldn't pass the background check. That's why he was trying to make himself the permanent city manager. The manager knew that he never had a background check. He knew that he wouldn't have qualified for it. So why is he still here? Technically, he's in violation of the city charter, and those who put him there are not only in violation of the city charter, but they're also in violation of HR policy rules. Background check. So you don't have to go through the process to get a new manager when we got managers sitting right here. We could put Ms. Lawson in this seat, or we could put Mr. Ellis in this seat. Both of them have had background checks done in order to attain those positions. So why do we have a manager sitting here for 19 months that did not have one? And we know full well that he forced the HR director out. Everybody knows it, but nobody's doing nothing. You did that, Will.
Public input is still open. Public input is closed. Miss, come on now. Public input is closed. All right, we're gonna go into our discussion items, finance and budget, and I turn it over into the hands of Mr. Manager. Finance and budget.
Finance and budget, we're going to ask our budget administrator, Mr. Robert Anathan, to come and give his presentation.
All right, Ms. Anderson, you have the floor.
Good evening, and thank you. This will be a quarterly review of the budget, results against it. As you can see in your package, we're using a format as directed by the charter. The charter says that we will take the most recent 3 months. In this case, it would be April, May, and June, and compare it to 1/4 of the annual budget. Then it also requires that we take the full year to date, which would be from October through June, and compare that to 3/4 of the annual budget. So that's the format we're going to be using tonight. One other thing I would point out is you'll see there are columns called results for the quarter and results for the 9 months. Those results include both expenditures, money that's actually been spent leaving the city. It also includes encumbered POs where the money has been set aside but has not yet been spent. In some cases, that money will not be spent. In some cases, that money will be spent next year. For example, you have one PO in the system right now for $479,000, which shows up in the results. That PO will be canceled. So the message I'm leaving you with, the results are the results, but since they have the encumbrance in there, they will move slightly as the year progresses. The other thing I'll share with you right now is the presentation will be at the fund level. If we took it down to the division level, there'd be another 21 pages. And I think everything that needs to be understood can be understood at the fund level. So without further ado, I wasn't expecting the presentation to show up, but it's now there. Super. Okay, the first page, page 1 in your package is at the city level. And what I'd like to point out is the 3 month is a little bit volatile, so I'm going to focus on the 9 months. And you can see from there that at the 9 months, bottom line, right-hand corner, as you can see in your package and possibly also see on the display, is that we are $31 million underspent at this time. As I take you down the categories of it, salaries is an accurate number. In fact, we're due to the vacancies, we're about $658,000 through the current budget. That budget has, those numbers have been reduced during the course of the year by about $500,000 to $600,000. So when compared to the actual budget for the year, we'll probably be saving close to $1 million on salaries. Compensation is, do not look at the variance of savings there. There have been problems in loading both the health plan and also the retirement benefits. So the savings there are very dramatically overstated at the moment. That'll be brought up, corrected by the time we get to year end. The other major savings you can see at the city level is at capital. We put a lot of projects in there that probably will carry over to next year. So in terms of savings, that's the primary savings for the year. There are no questions on that page. I'll move on down. We're just going to peel it back now.
Mr.
I'm
Kelly,
sorry.
Okay, yeah, slow down a little bit. Let me go back to
Yes, sir.
the first page. Under your 9 month year to date, the 658,637, you says that was a result of salary savings.
I said vacancies, Commissioner.
So they're vacancies.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we anticipate them being filled. Are those the vacancies we're trying to fill at the job fair we had?
That would be all part of it, but these are savings that have been already realized during the course of the year, recognizing the fact at this moment, we obviously only have a month left.
So are we using vacancies or are we using savings? The $658,000, are those vacancies that you don't anticipate filling or haven't filled? Or is that the savings from the first 3 quarters of not having people there?
That's the latter category. Yes, sir. It's savings. It is savings that have been realized over the first 9 months. When we look at 9 months of budget versus 9 months of actual.
Okay, and so we had the job fair where we were told that we had a whole bunch of folks here and looking to fill the vacancies that were there. So then we anticipate these savings that we accumulated will not be there starting next year as we fill those positions.
Yes, sir. Once again, the budget is structured on the basis of all positions being filled. This is this year's savings only.
Okay, and what is the other uses? We saved money apparently 609,000. What was that?
Yes,
Those
sir.
savings?
That includes 4 categories at the city level. Includes leave payouts. It includes red light cameras, which were not installed at the rate that we anticipated they'd be installed.
And what was the first one? League what?
Leave payouts for people who leave, who
leave.
have accrued. Yes, sir.
Okay, and what was the second one? Cameras?
Red light cameras, the budget had been put together with the belief that there would be 6 additional cameras in place as of January of this year. And in fact, it'll probably be at least September, if not later, before the first of them are put in place.
Okay, and the other, you said it's 4.
Yes, sir. Within the ARPA funds, there are 2 programs, one which is rental and mortgage assistance. And then there's another one for small business grants in there. And those have not been fully utilized up to this point.
Okay, so all right, you got them all lumped together, Mr. Mayor, to my colleagues, to the manager. I'd like to see that broken down within there, other than just other uses with a lump sum. How much was for leave payouts? How much was for red light cameras not installed? You mentioned ARPA funds, but then you break that down to 3 different categories: rental, mortgage, and small business assistance.
Small business assistance,
Right,
yes, sir.
so to break that down, and what was the fourth one?
The fourth one had to do, there were penalties that were realized within the stormwater fund. They have not yet hit that account.
Say it again?
There were penalties associated with the stormwater fund through and visit inspection by the state. And that has not yet hit that fund. The actuals have not yet hit.
Okay, so you can provide that
Yes, sir.
to us. Okay, and all right, that's it on that page. On that page, go ahead.
As I said, this is a city view. What I'm going to do is take you very quickly through the funds. A lot of this, the discussion that applied to city level will apply to several of these funds as well. So the first one I'd ask you to look at is your next page, page number 2. And you see, once again, you can see the very large number for savings for benefits. And again, that has to do with what I mentioned before in terms of the issues, in terms of getting actuals in for both the health plan and the retirement plan. There are 2 major other savings there. Again, I'm talking to the 9-month column. You can see $700,000 in contingency, and probably most of that will not be used when we get to year end. And the last thing is your transfers out of $1.6 million, and that has to do primarily with a lesser level of CIP that the general fund would be funding. It also has to do with less in regards to your IT fund, because we're not doing the enterprise research planning system or ERP this year. So therefore, there's going to be savings in the IT internal service fund.
Why aren't we doing it, Mr. Mayor? Why aren't we doing it this year?
City was not ready for it.
Say again?
The city was not ready for it. There had to be certain preparations done, and the city was not prepared to move forward on it.
Because we budgeted for it, we're not ready for it.
That's correct.
Do it yet. So anticipate next year.
It's
You
a
said
next year item in the
CIP
budget. Yes, sir.
The CIP fund, you said, was also part of that.
Yes, sir. You'll see that. We put a lot of projects in there and the budget assumed they will all get done. Realistically, they won't get done. For example, you've got a $7 million 127th Street Canal project, and that won't even start this year. They're still going through the evaluation process.
Is the roadway that's closed over on
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, is part of this transfer out?
It would have been by the time it was out, the bids that came back were unsatisfactory, as I think you know. It's going to go out for a rebid and it'll be next year's budget.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. What I'm going to do is take you through the three operating funds. General fund was the first one. The water sewer fund is the second one. The only major item on that one is debt service. You can see that's actually positive. What I meant to mention at the outset, the way the charter wants this structured, it just assumes that all your expenses are uniform. It does not take into account things that are seasonality. For example, if you have a major debt payment early in the year, it looks like you're going to be over budget all year until the full year budget catches up because we're only taking a fraction of the budget. So you can see that debt service is actually positive here. Does not mean it's going to be over budget. It's just a question of timing. The third of the operating funds is your stormwater operating fund. And you can see the operating expense there is positive 164,000 year to date. Again, as I said before, your expenses are composed both of true expenditures and encumbrance. This is the fund that has a $479,000 PO in it that's encumbered, which is going to be canceled. That's what causes that overage on that line. Second line you can see there, which is significant, is the $927,000 savings in transfers out. That's first and foremost due to a lesser number of stormwater CIPs than the budget had anticipated. What I'm going to do next is take you through the various CIP funds, and will not have much of a commentary on, just a point. This reinforces the fact that you can see, again, look at the right-hand column, that on a 9-month year to date, we are $1.2 million overspent. I'm sorry, underspent, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner. And again, this is just for information. I'm not going to take you through all the different projects. Moving on to page 6, which is now the water sewer CIP fund. Again, you can see this fund on a 9-month basis is considered to be $6.5 million underspent, with the two primary ones being a portion of Cairo Lane project and also what's known as the Northern District Water Distribution Project, which is going to be downsized. Moving on to the stormwater CIP fund on the next page, you can see this fund also after 9 months is considerably underspent, $7.5 million, with the primary things being the 127th Street Canal project that I mentioned before, the portion of Cairo Lane that's in this fund, and also the Burlington Canal, which assumed 2 phases were going to be done during the budget year, and it will not be 2 phases. The final fund that I'm going to ask you to look at on page 8 is a combination of both capital, and it's also where the circulator bus is, community bus that is. You can see the primary savings here is the community bus. It had been, budget had assumed that there would be 2 bus routes this year, and at the moment there's only 1, so there are marked savings there.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Gurley.
thank you. So the two routes on the circular you said was how much? Those 2 additional routes?
It was an additional route in addition to the current route. The savings are, as indicated, $354,000. Budget anticipated would be approximately $800,000 for the year.
What happened? Why didn't those 2 routes start? Those additional routes?
It's only 1 additional route, Commissioner. You have 1 in place right now. There was going to be a south route. When the bids came back in, they were quite high, and that has not come back out yet for a bid.
Okay, but it was probably 2 routes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so one you accepted in, the other one you didn't because the amounts were too high?
Yes, sir. Well, the one existed. It was just a rebid on the existing route that's in place right now. That's continued. In fact, it was not accepted as part of the bid. It's just continued under the old contract.
So how do we, what was the cap for it being too high? I mean, This is my first time hearing that it went out, came back in, it was too high, so we didn't accept the bid. The last I remember was we went out to add the additional route, and obviously rebid on whatever was there.
If memory serves me right, interesting choice of words, if I get back to a moment. Two bids came in, one for around 700,000 for two routes, and the second bid came in for $1 million for the two routes. And I think there was some dissatisfaction with the low bid in terms of service provided. And former interim city manager Wright decided to cancel all bids and go out at a later point.
Okay, so when you went back out for the bids,
Has not gone back out yet.
well, you decided to cancel those. Why hadn't they gone back out?
I believe that I'm not sure that I can address.
Say it again.
I don't believe I can address that particular point.
Okay, while they're discussing, let me go to the other point and they can answer that. Okay. Well, let me just wait on the answer.
Well, Commissioner Kelly, while you're waiting on your answer, I do have a question on this. Originally, was there a south route to this? Because you referenced the south route.
That was the intended route. I believe there might have been one several years ago. I haven't been around long enough to, but it was envisioned to be a second, what it was called the south route.
So for the last couple of years, there's only been one route.
Yes, sir. In 3 years that I've been here, it's only been one route.
One route.
Yeah.
And the intent was to add an additional
That's
route
correct. Yes.
with the company that stands, or to bid it out for the person to come in to encompass the whole thing. That's what
The bids would be for whoever won the bid would take over both routes.
take over.
It
Okay.
would be the current vendor or a new vendor.
And we couldn't extend the contract with the existing
Oh, yes.
holder and just add,
It's on a month by month basis, right?
no,
I'm
adding,
sorry.
just adding a second route. That was not an option? If we had the
The
money.
bid
for it?
was structured winner take all, take both of them.
Okay. And Commissioner Kelly, the question that you have is for the manager's office, right? Mr. Manager, you want to tackle that question?
Commissioner Kelly has a question for management?
About the routes,
Yes.
and why hasn't it gone out for bid? That was your question, Commissioner Kelly?
Have an ask Mr. Hampton. I'm not gonna repeat myself.
I'm sorry, sir.
Manager wants to know what the question, so you could
Yeah.
tell them the question. is.
The discussion was that there were bids came in. They were higher than the city was willing to accept. Former interim city manager Wright canceled them, I think, possibly in February. And I don't believe we've gone back out for new bids yet.
What's the question that the commissioner directed to you?
What's the holdup in going back out on the field, on the streets?
The bids were rejected. And when the bids have to be rejected, we have to determine a price point by which they can be resubmitted out. So that's a process of looking at what we can afford versus what the market will maintain. So that process is underway. And when that's completed, we'll send the bids back out.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
Mr. Anthem just stated that the former manager rejected him. He's been gone a long time. So we're sitting on this route and reevaluating, including adding the south route that the mayor just mentioned all this time to reevaluate. Why would it take that long to do any reevaluation on something?
So through the mayor to Commissioner Kelly, as I stated before, is both a process of what we can afford versus what the market can hold. The lowest bid that we received was $1 million, and it's actually for a vendor, which we receive constant complaints on a daily basis. Well, not a daily basis, but we can consistently receive bids on that. So that is an allocation for a budget that we weren't sure that we could obtain with our TIF dollars to be able to put a bid out that we could actually afford.
And did you come back to the commission and tell the commission that?
No, sir.
That's my point. Should have came at the commission, let the commission make a decision how they wanted to deal with that. We might decide to hire two people and get a bus, but it's still sitting out there with only one route when this commission thought there was going to be two routes because we're going to add a route. So we're actually on a month-to-month basis retainer with a company. Is that what you just said?
Yes, sir. With the current one who is servicing what's called the north route, which has been the route that's been in effect at least for 3 years that I've been here.
Okay, I'd like, Mr. Mayor, my colleagues, a whole report on the bus shelter. I mean, that shelter bus route service from the time we rejected that first or the bid, as you referenced, back early last year up until what has happened now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, on that issue.
Mr. Anderson,
Sir,
did you not place this information in the budget, for the previous year? That there was only one route?
The assumption for the current year was 2 routes,
Was
and the
2 routes.
assumption for next year is 2 routes as
Two
well.
routes,
sir.
and the
Yes, sir.
previous amendment had 1 route, did it not?
FY 22,
Yes,
I believe it had, yes, sir. I believe it only had 1 year.
thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, 1 route.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. Next page I'd ask you to look at is page 9, debt service. It's everything is on track on this. It's the debt for this building and the FY11 bond, and also the general funds portion of the Miami-Dade debt. It's essentially right on track. The next one is the Risk Management Internal Services Fund. That also is right on track. Very little variance on a 9-month basis. Information Tech, which is the next internal service fund. You do see savings primarily because as I said before, the Enterprise Resource Planning System, or the ERP system, will not be installed this year. Next page is the Town Center Fund, and again, that's essentially on track. And then the last 2, you'll see there's no activity whatsoever, but I include them just for completeness. That would complete the third quarter financial review. I stand ready to answer any questions that I might.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I don't have any questions, but as they say in court, I reserve the right to send the email to the manager on follow-up, because we just got it and there's some other lines in here that I don't quite see how to add up, but I don't want to hold up time. So I'll send those to email and have it CC to my colleagues so they'll know what I'm asking for. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All righty. All right, Mr. Manager, does this include the finance and budget portion?
Yes, sir, it does.
All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson. All right, we can go into our resolutions. Madam Attorney, 7-1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the interim city manager to enter into renewal insurance contracts with AvMed Inc. and MetLife for medical, dental, and vision insurance for city employees, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
All right, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the reason why we called the special commission meeting. This is our annual renewal of our insurance policy. And we have our agent of record, Sapoznik, online to provide you a presentation and answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Do we have any questions for the agent online, Commissioner? Or do we want to just call for the vote? No questions? Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of course, I have questions, but when I get something last minute, it's very hard to read it with questions. Yes, I do have a couple of questions for the agent, a record, and HR director here.
We actually have Mr. Mayor, to Commissioner Kelly, we actually have a presentation prepared by the agent of record to provide you.
Not only the presentation, I have 2 questions.
Okay. Could you put the agent of record on board, please, Mr. Walker?
Good afternoon. Are you guys able to hear me? Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, I can't, it would not allow me to access the video to show my face. So I apologize for that.
That's fine. But Commissioner Kelly has a couple questions for you.
Thank you. Can you tell me the 2 biggest difference, of any, on this year's cost or renewal from last year? Either savings and or increase, whichever way it may go, or is it the same?
Well, yes, sir. So, when we're looking at the renewal this year, we are looking at, below trend, which is 12%. So we came in initially at 6, but we were able to negotiate another percentage off that came down to 5, which I believe is, well under the city's budget. Again, 12% is trend in the industry. So we are coming in, 8% under trend. Um, One of the factors, and I do know you guys usually get this information one-on-one prior to these meetings. I will be more than happy to speak with you, meet with anyone one-on-one. There is some information that I unfortunately cannot divulge, obviously before due to HIPAA reasons, but I do believe you guys may have a presentation, correct? Or the booklet?
I didn't understand. What is it?
He said some information he cannot provide due to HIPAA, but he said he's willing to meet with you one-on-one if.
No, I don't
in
even think
depth.
that deep. I just want to know, based on what you said there, and I was curious because our costs, we're not having many employees this past year, and we anticipate having full staffing next year, in all our departments. I just was wondering what that difference, if you've calculated in, as part of the total cost. That's why I was asking the question.
Well, we have not calculated that in, but I can tell you for insurance purposes, the more employees that you do have on the plan, the better, because it does spread risk. So that actually helps when you do go out to market for rates, because as far as the carrier is concerned, it helps spread the risk.
Okay. All right. And that's pretty much across all of them. Well, dental and vision probably. Did you, as a part of your analysis, do surveys with employees, staff about how they felt about, AvMed or whomever, or the experience they've had with dental and vision this past year?
We personally, as a firm, do not do that. We aren't allowed to go into your employees. I'm not sure if your HR staff did that. However, I can tell you, and again, this is something that I will keep very minimal in what I say in a public forum, because of certain ailments that we do have, and it's documented. Like I said, I'll be more than happy to sit with you all. We do have those carriers outside of AvMed that this year they decided not to quote on the city, just because we do have some very serious illnesses going on, which again, I won't go into, but I will be more than happy to meet with you on them.
No, I don't need to meet on. I was really talking more in general. They went to the dentist, didn't have to wait 8 hours, went to get eyeglasses, didn't have to wait 6 months. I mean, simple things like that could have been captured in a simple form of how the service has been. That's what I was referencing. Not illnesses or anything like that. But that's something you said you don't do as a firm, but HR would do.
Yeah, that's more of an HR function. We typically, as a firm, because that can rock the boat, and that's not our call to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the information. Thank you.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Any other questions for Mr. Eugene or the manager on this topic? All right, hearing none. We can call the question, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I need a motion in a second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion for this item?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kelly.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 3-0.
okay. Madam Attorney, next item, 7.2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving expenditures related to special events hosted by City Commissioner Joseph L. Kelly for the remainder of fiscal year 2022 through 2023, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Kelly.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor, I'm sorry,
Irvin.
Irvin.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Kelly, this is your item.
Thank you. Let me just be clear also, Madam Attorney, there's no conflict with me voting on this.
No,
Okay, I just
Commissioner
want to be clear. Thank you. To my colleague before you, as you know, the process we have now of making sure that the commission approves expenditures in order to spend funds out of our line items. So what I have done is try to capture those things that have done, will be doing for the remainder of the fiscal year. Of course, because required a meeting, I had to wait for a meeting to be called. Even though as you look in the backup, some of them have, been in place or been contemplated and have been. I work with the manager's office through procurement, going through that process to make sure as well. So it's before you, your consideration. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any questions for the sponsor of this item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bath.
Wait, one second. One second.
Oh.
You got a question?
Okay, no.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you start over?
Yes, Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass. Yes. Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes,
motion passes 4-0.
okay. Madam Attorney, 7-3.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing a procurement process for an independent professional background screener to conduct a level 2 background screening and all other background checks necessary to comport with the city's established procedures for the selection of city and manager, requiring background checks only for shortlisted candidates for the position of city manager, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Vice Mayor Irvin.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second for discussion.
second for discussion by Commissioner Bass. Vice Mayor, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, hi. This item, because in order for us to get anyone to do the background check, it has to be procured according to what the state told me. And this way we can get a company to come in and do what needs to be done, opposed to having HR choose a company for us to use.
Okay. All right, so we open up for discussion. You ask for discussion. Commissioner Bass, you can start.
Thank you. I'm a bit hesitant about this one only because of the last meeting we had where FDLE did our background check, which I still believe that was a reputable agency. And this is relating to our manager search, correct?
Correct.
So I just don't like the slap in the face when it comes to
Okay, so I spoke with the state and I also spoke with a couple other people. Even having a professional to do the background check for us, it's still going to go through NCIC. It's still going through FDLE. It's still going to go through them. It's just the company will actually do that for us. And then they will also do the educational background check and stuff like that, considering that nobody trusts anybody. That's what everything is boiling down to. Nobody trusts anybody to do what's right. So the correct way I was told was because it's not an emergency. It has to go out for procurement. And then at that point, the commission would choose a company to use, and then they would do the search for us.
if I may, Vice Mayor, thank you for that. Because of transparency, I will go along with it, but I still don't like the fact that we as a DAIS did not trust FDLE.
I agree.
And I would stick to that.
Because it's still coming from
Right.
FDLE anyway. I spoke with the county. The county say that they use FDLE. I spoke with the state say they use FDLE. I don't know why the city had such an issue with FDLE. So it's still gonna come from FDLE, NCIC, if I'm saying it properly. It's the report is still coming from them. It's just that we would use this company to, whichever company that the dais chooses will also do the background, the education and all of that stuff on the candidates.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do have a couple.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. Vice Mayor, thank you for bringing the item forward. Couple of things that I said at the previous meeting, when we talk about procuring the service, not necessarily procurement as in 3 quotes, but through the piggyback process we do all the time here in the city for various things. But what really concerns me is the second whereas, and you said that nobody trusts anybody, so I'm gonna go get that one right there.
Okay.
Due to the recent departure of the HR director, necessary for the commission to secure an independent professional, but yet we were said the last meeting, we got an HR director who just wasn't here that particular day, but would forward us the packets, which wound up going to the clerk and then being left, I guess, on our desk. I ain't been to the office. I'm told that's where it's on the desk. This whole process, I'm gonna say again, is why folks don't trust this process, because we're pulling out a piece, and I don't think anyone disagrees of the professionalism of FDLE, but of course, there's a lot of other things that go with this. So if the city is going to do the piggyback, which you suggest that we're going to do, or going to procure the services of a independent professional screener, when are we going to put that in place? How are we going to put it in place as a body? Because we're saying we're taking it out of the hands of HR, which is where it's supposed to be, and we're going to do it ourselves. So how are we going to do it?
Okay, we can't take it completely out of, from what I'm understanding, we can't take it completely out of HR hands. That's why HR, they accepted the applications or the resumes. We can't, I looked at the fact that maybe we could piggyback, but from what I'm understanding is that we can't piggyback on, unless there's a city that just recently hired hired a city manager. It has to be within that length of time. And if Madam City Attorney can assist me, we didn't find one. North Miami just got a city manager, but they did theirs in-house. It wasn't nobody.
Okay, to your point, that's the role of an HR director. I appreciate you doing the research and attorney, but that's the role of the HR director to go out, come back to this commission and say, I have searched, there's no one, no piggyback out there based on the time frame that we're looking at. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, so let me just talk about it. Where's the HR director? Is the HR director here? There's a second meeting we've had with HR director is not here. The interim HR director that we got a memo from the manager saying is our interim director. And they're not here again for this meeting. That in itself says something that all of us don't need to even go into anymore. I'll just leave it like that. To your resolution, again, how would we do it? Because you're saying we can't take it totally out of HR's hand, which I agree, we can't take it out of hands, period.
Because our code says so.
Because the code says it has to be a part. But we don't have HR director that's even here to put anything in half of the hand to know whatever. It's like, how are we going to even do this without the person being here for us to give the directive to?
Mr. Mayor.
1 second, Madam Attorney. Commissioner Kelly still has the floor.
I was just gonna answer the question, but.
Well,
wait.
Commissioner Kelly.
I'll defer, let you answer the question.
Yes, sir. The way this is written, it would, the information would go to the HR director. So this allows for you all to put out for a bid process, request for qualifications and I think that the procurement department has attached the RFQ that would go with it. And the information that will be collected will go back to the HR director, and then it will be released by in the presence of the three people that are listed in the resolution. So it will still go through the HR director. Now, your policy that deals with the selection of the city manager, you all have a policy that you received, I think a couple of meetings. It may even be attached to that resolution. It does appear to allow for this because it does talk about like a third party being able to do it. And so that's the only way it could, it could fit for this third party to do just the background screening. So it's not doing the selection process or conducting, you're already halfway there in terms of, you've collected applications and all of that, but this is assistance with the background screening process only. And that's what you're having the procurement for, just the background screening process and everything that goes with that.
Commissioner Kelly, if you don't mind, you have the floor, but I do have a question based on what she just said. So going back to Commissioner Kelly's original question, this will look like, the way it will work is the HR director will put it out for the bid, right?
Well,
No, the procurement.
The procurement, you're right.
Procurement.
That's why it's attached to it, so
Got
that
it.
nothing else has to
So
be done.
they will
Just so-
receive the interest and then bring that to the commission to choose. Okay. And
all the information that's collected is going to be turned over to HR, and then that information can only be open. So you see the people there, which is the same language that was in the previous resolutions, like it's open in the presence of, whoever the people are in the resolution. But the issue is, this is just, just for the background screening and the issues that go with the background screening. That's all it deals with. And everything else still is going to flow through HR. Everything else is still going to come back to you all. You all are still going to do the short list. It's only for the short list of candidates as well.
Understood.
So once you shortlist, those are the only people you're screening.
So how long is the procurement process?
This is going to be out until September the 12th. So it's a fairly short turnaround.
And then September the 12th, let's just say you get 3 that are interested. Those 3 will be open in the presence of who you said on here. And then the HR director will make a recommendation, or they will bring those 3 to the commission, and we will make the we will determine
Now,
based on.
talking about the
No, I'm specifically talking about the background screeners.
Oh, the background screener. No, the background screener will come to the commission. So that's just, so whoever those people are that apply, it's just going to be a regular resolution. Once it closes, the information will be retrieved from the clerk and it will go on a resolution, and you all will make the decision based upon the information, just like you always do. It will be attached to a resolution with a blank, and then you will choose which background screener you want to select based on the responses.
Okay, and the only reservation that I have on this, or one, because we're back here again, and the second one is because it seems like we're dragging the process out longer and longer and longer. So that's where I'm at. And then it was stated that this is not considered an emergency, so we'll have to go through the proper procurement process. So I guess my question is, what determines an emergency on a main emergency basis, being that we're behind the 8
frankly,
ball
you
on
all
what the commission
determine
has
an
already-
emergency. So frankly, you all would determine
That's what
an
I
emergency.
thought.
So,
Okay,
right, but if you choose to do this, you don't have to do it as an emergency. You could do it just as like it's proposed in the resolution. And you could do it either way. I think if there were enough, piggyback type opportunities, that would be fine too, but I don't think you have a lot of leeway there. So it sort of leaves a short turnaround window for this as it's written. Or if you all determine it is an emergency, it could be. But I think what the vice mayor was saying was that she has had a conversation with the state, and the state has indicated that they don't see it as an emergency. However, just to let you all know, as your legal advisor, you all determine whether it's an emergency or not the state. So you can go either way on it.
No, I'm fine with the resolution, because I like the transparency of it. And so it allows the residents to know that, hey, we're not involved, this is somebody else. But the problem still remains, issue is that it's prolonging the process. So we've been dealing with this for a while, and here we are, I believe, based on the calendar that we set, we were supposed to be doing interviews this week, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, I could be wrong, but
If I may say for a second. I don't want people coming back. Yes, it may extend this by 2 weeks, but I don't want people coming back. Oh, you all didn't do this right. It was rigged because the HR lady picked the person for you all, and oh, the city manager made her do it like this. I don't want to have to deal with that outside of these doors, because my patience with it is shot.
we on the same page, that's why I brought it last week.
Right, and the only reason
So
I didn't
we're
agree with
good.
that, because it said that the HR director would choose who we would use.
good.
That's the only reason I didn't support the last one.
Okay, so, no, it wasn't, I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
So, only thing I would recommend is that we push this, then it needs to come at the next commission meeting, so that we can move this ball rolling, get this ball rolling. Because to me, it's taking too
But-
long, and we're dangling our candidates, and
So we just a few days, our next regular commission meeting is September.
13th.
Yeah, so it's,
That's why I said I don't mind,
okay,
as long as, because it will close on the 12th, but I don't mind as long as it comes the very next day, which will be a commission meeting.
Again, Mr. Mayor, it will be prepared with the blank, so that can be done in advance. So that wouldn't be a problem.
And, okay. But also, we need to update the schedule. So if we receive it on the 13th, then we need to figure out when we're going to call that special meeting to do the short list, so we can move this process along. So yeah. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Kelly, because I had, it was your. I'm sorry.
oh, that is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. That's what-
That's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We got 24 minutes. Commissioner Kelly got to go.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not in a hurry.
So I'm done. I spoke my piece. I spoke my piece. Anyone else on this topic? Okay,
Yeah, Going back to.
yes, sir.
Vice Mayor, I appreciate your efforts. I'm looking at this from so many different angles, and I don't want to cross the line, Madam Attorney, so please help me out. Please help me out, Madam Attorney. I asked a simple question: where's the HR director? And I didn't hear anything, didn't get a response from management. The other day we mentioned it. I got a response from management. They were not able to be here because they had a previous engagement, which I understood. That was a quickly, hastily called meeting. I just asked again, nobody said a word. We're talking about one of the biggest things to be decided as elected officials, and the person or position that has to be thoroughly engaged and involved in this is not here again. Can I ask that question? If not, I'll move on.
Well, it's a different question than I demand that the HR director be in the meeting, but you can certainly ask
I
the
didn't
question.
demand anything.
You- I
You know
understand.
what?
That's-
You answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, you could, so,
That's my
no,
question.
so the answer would be yes, you can
I-
ask
I-
that
I
question.
thank
But
for
you
that.
understand the distinction I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I
right?
understand.
Okay.
I won't even ask the question.
Okay.
Let me move on to the resolution. My colleague, Commissioner Bass asked, was this reference just the background check? And I believe, Vice Mayor, you said that's the part you're trying to capture.
The background check, and then it will also check the history, they'll double check the application. Like if I said I went to Harvard, they're gonna make sure that I went to Harvard, that kind of thing. If that answered your
So the
question.
application,
Yes,
So they're
the
going-
work history and all that
the-
stuff.
Firm that we're going to engage in is actually going to do all of the stuff that HR would do.
Pretty much.
and then provide that to the HR director.
That would come to, that we would get a copy. We too will get a copy of the final
No,
report.
because I heard that once he comes back in, and they do whatever, that we're gonna get it directly, or is it gonna go to HR and then we get it?
Through the mayor. Commissioner Kelly,
Yeah.
it would go to HR and it has to be, if it is open, it has to be open in the presence of the people that are there. And then it will come to the commission. Now, if you want language that more closely ties it, like where it, goes simultaneously or something like that, we can certainly do that. But I think the proper way is for it to go to HR and then to the commission.
Okay, I'm looking at page 57. The whereas that says the background screener, I guess that would be the firm, provide to HR other information reference. And Vice Mayor, I guess that's what you're referencing, the reference checks, employment, educational, license, social security, motor vehicle, all of those things.
Yes.
So, but they're still gonna go to HR first, and then HR would give them to us.
Yes. Do you have a problem with they going to HR? Maybe the clerk would accept
Clerk didn't want to be
it.
bothered.
She's on there shaking her head.
Clerk don't be bothered, that's probably. I'm just trying to understand that we're trying to get the HR director out of this, but there's no way to avoid having HR because that's just the way our charter calls for. But is it going to be sealed coming back in? Is it going to be, I think the attorney just said it has to be open when it comes back. That's where I'm trying to get a clarity. When they go out and they get their information on the 3 and it comes back, is that coming back to us in a sealed packet, or is that going to come back to us via HR who's going to look at it first? That's really the question I have.
Are you talking about, when you say it come back to us, are you talking about for the 3 for us to choose for the
final
firm?
3, the
Or the-
final 3 folks that we picked,
Okay, okay.
and the firm is get those names and they do all their background, whatever they're doing. When they compile their report, is it coming back to us directly, or is it going to HR? Because what this says here is going to provide to HR. And what I'm saying is we're trying to HR out of this, or it's not being involved in the front part, because we're going to get a firm, then why would it go straight to them on this part? I'm trying to get an understanding of that. I'm clear on the firm, got that. Now I'm talking about when the information comes back in. Because we're doing this as part of the same resolution. It's not gonna be separated out.
Well, we could ask that the firm come here and present it to us.
It's your legislation. I'm asking.
Yes,
I'm
I
asking.
mean, we could, if there's some, wherever you want to add that the firm will come here and directly give it to us as the commission, we can do that.
Well, let me ask you.
If that'll make everything transparent for everybody.
Through the mayor, you can certainly do that. It's probably more appropriate though for it to go to HR, but and that's why I suggested when the information goes to HR, maybe there can be something that some provision where it goes to you all as well. This is a transparent process. Whatever you all want to do is in the public. There's nothing that excludes a management, selection process from public, but it's just that probably typically it would go through your HR. And so I think that's where you should place it, with the information maybe going to you all as well. The same information that goes to HR could go to the city commission. And that there wouldn't be a problem with that legally, if that's what you chose to do.
Madam, yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Madam Attorney, okay, Madam Attorney, I'm looking at the procurement packet where it says evaluation of proposal, which is page 12. The selection committee consisting of city personnel will convene, review, and discuss all proposals submitted. So what we're passing is not what's in this procurement packet.
Yeah, that I'm not familiar with. That's not a part that I saw. So this would not be city personnel at all selecting this. And,
Yeah, but it's in
and
the backup
that
document.
that would not be.
So that just came today and I didn't see that part of it.
Mr.
Okay,
Mayor?
so it needs, my
Oh,
point is, what we're voting on needs to be reflected
You're right.
in
Yeah.
the RFP packet, because what we're voting is directly contradicts what's in the packet. So either we need to fix that or, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
yes, there's also another area here. I know in hearing the discussion, I'm hearing that the request for qualification packages should go to the HR director, and the RFQ document that's attached as Exhibit B. It has that it's going to the city clerk's office. So perhaps that can also be changed to reflect the discussion that's taking place now.
Well, let me just say this, the procurement package should go to the clerk's office because that's where it's stamped and all of that. So that's just like any other procurement. And I know you don't want anything to do with this, but that's like, I think the procurement itself, how the applicants who respond to the RFQ, that should go to the clerk's office. The issue of once you select someone and you have a screener, then those applications or that information that the screener retrieves based on the background search, that should go to HR. So I just want to be clear that we're talking about two different things. And if you see in the document, Mr. Mayor, where there's a selection that's done by staff, that would need to be revised to make it reflect the commission.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to do that because it's all over the document. Committee shall select, choose, invite any. Committee selection shall appoint formula during, so it's all over.
No, that would not be accurate.
So my point, so
Yeah,
I would feel comfortable if what we were voting on reflected the backup documentation. And at this point, it doesn't.
yeah. And what you have is in the resolution, it says substantially in the form. And so the part that I did was the first part of it. That's also in the resolution. The rest of it was added to what the city normally does. So I think it was just adding the other language that you all normally have in documents to what the first part of it is. And I can show you where that is. But no, that's not, obviously that's not the intent. I think staff was just trying to do it very quickly and the regular language was added. So, but that's not the intent.
Okay, I got that part. So how do we fix it?
Just that we will take it, you'll allow me to make it consistent with what you're saying right now.
So can that language be added into the resolution?
Absolutely. And I think it's already in here.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Well, I know it's not that, we just brought it up. So the process that Commissioner Kelly and Vice Mayor described is what should be outlined in the resolution, as well as the procurement packet. So the whole
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
commission, I'm sorry.
So I just want to make sure that whatever my role in this, that is spelled out, because in the normal procurement process, I receive bids and I open those in the presence of procurement and other city staff. If I'm just to receive them and not open those and provide those to HR, then it needs to be spelled out in whatever document is needed so that there's no confusion and I'm aware of what my role specifically is in this process.
Okay, and hence why I want it spelled out in the resolution. So, Madam Attorney, we should do that. So once we advertise, we receive, the clerk will receive bids, stamp them, clock them in, do not open them. They will then come to the commission meeting, which is the very next day, the 13th, and be open in the commission meeting, where the commission will then discuss, as the selection committee, will then discuss, evaluate, and choose the vendor in which the city will contract with in order to do this process.
And Mr. Mayor?
And
Oh,
go ahead. And understanding that HR should be present at that meeting, so That way we understand that HR is a part of the process. So it will be open in front of the commission by the clerk and HR. Is that okay with everyone?
That's okay with me.
I understand your point, Mr. Mayor. I really do. I cannot understand in a city government how we are doing this without the major department and person who oversees it. That we're taking on all of this, and now we're gonna involve in the September 13 meeting, which is probably gonna be long because we haven't met in, I don't know when. You got budgetary stuff going on. Okay. I just want to be clear on once the screener, quote unquote, firm is selected, they're going to be doing, if I heard the vice mayor clearly, all of the things in the whereas, that second from the bottom, all those checks. That information, according to you, or what you're suggesting, Mr. Mayor, would be clocked in by the clerk, but not open, and then presented, the commission would open it at the meeting and to discuss and make whatever going to do. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. And I heard you talk, you're right, the meeting is probably will be long, unless we did a special commission meeting at 6:30. So that's 30 minutes before the regular commission meeting and do it there.
This is probably gonna take longer than 30. I'm just suggesting this probably needs to be the last item that you do.
Okay.
It's probably gonna take, and you also, I would also say to the sponsor, since your legislation originally, that we capture somewhere in here to ask whoever it winds up being. And is that part of the request that you're putting out could be at that meeting, or that in case there is any questions that would come up by the dais? Is that in your legislation? Can that be put in, Madam Attorney?
Yes, that a request is being made.
Right,
for
okay.
the-
At the commission meeting or the very next meeting, once we
No,
get
no, at the meeting when we're gonna open this up and discuss.
the results?
Right, well,
Okay.
whatever,
Got it.
because we may have questions of them. They don't even gonna be able to answer because it was sealed. Nobody else has
Got it.
seen anything but them, that person or that firm. So to the sponsor, I don't know if that's can be
That's okay
captured
with
in an
me.
amendment or.
That's okay with me.
Okay.
All right, so
Mr. Mayor, just one last thing. I know you all want to fast track this, but any resolution that has fiscal impact has to be sent to the state and approved. So that is another process that you have to take into consideration. If we're going to advertise this, there is the cost associated with that to go out to an RFP, and anything that has a dollar amount attached to it has to be approved by the state.
but we
As
can
as
do
an
a,
FYI.
With the state, what's that? What's the expedited?
Yeah, expedited.
Request.
Do it the same way you did the book bag. Expedite. It'll be done
request.
quick.
I'm sure they will understand. Sure they will understand. Okay, so Madam Clerk, we are gonna call the question because we don't really need to vote on the amendment because the sponsor already agreed to it. But I would like for you to read what we are amending, Madam Attorney, please.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna take it, just so you know, right from your record. We'll listen to it. But as I understand it, you all would like to have the HR director as a request attend the meeting. You would like to have the RFQ consistent with the comments that are made at the meeting to include the opening process to take place at the very next meeting, where the city commission, along with the clerk being present and the HR being present, will open and make the selection of the successful candidate for the RFQ. And I believe that incorporates everything that I understand that's major, and anything else, we'll make sure that it goes as a part of the resolution based on your comments. Now, the other thing, I would ask that you vote on the amendment first and then go back to the main motion.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion? Move for the amendment? Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk, roll call for the amendment.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly, Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes on the amendment.
All right, and Madam Clerk, you can call the question for the actual resolution item.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly, Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
okay, Madam Attorney, the next item is I'm sorry, 7-4.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving submitted legal invoices from Bernadette Norris Weeks, PA, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city attorney.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Attorney, can you present this item?
Yes, these are the legal invoices for the fiscal year. The invoices are substantially lower than I think you've probably seen for legal invoices any fiscal year in recent modern history of Opa-locka. It is around approximately $60,000 for all litigation expenses up to date. So we are well within and probably about a third of what you all had budgeted for previously. And I'd ask that you pass this so that it can go to the appropriate persons for processing. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the attorney? All right, hearing none. Madam Attorney, I would say.
Go ahead.
The only thing I will say is that we gotta develop a process where we get these sooner. So, and I know we talked about it during the renewal of the contract, that we should be getting these at least once a month.
It is.
So
in-
not just, yeah,
Yes, sir.
a
It's-
lump
it's-
sum.
There is some language in the contract that talks about promptness and it will be,
Okay.
we will endeavor to do it within 30 days after the invoice, within 30 days after the services are provided.
Okay, any other questions for the attorney or statements to the attorney? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Bass?
Thank you. Like Commissioner Kelly always says, to get documents at the last minute is irritating. It's totally irritating. And truth be told, I have not had the opportunity to look at this. I'm not saying that it's legitimate or illegitimate. What I'm saying is that I would like to have had enough time to go through this to make sure that we're doing what we need to do with the people's money. So right now, I will not support this until I have enough time to look at it.
All right, any other questions for the city attorney? All right, Madam Clerk, you can call the question.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
No.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 3-1.
okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Bible study.
This meeting is adjourned and we ask that you all stay safe. Moved by Commissioner Kelly, second by Vice Mayor Irvin. This meeting is adjourned.